Welcome to Art Fun with Vanessa Lombardo. Today we're going to be learning about value. So get your pencil and let's start shading. Value is the gradation of a color from light to dark. Today we are going to be practicing grayscale gradation. Don't forget to pause if you need more time. To begin this project, I want to draw a square with a square inside of it on my paper. But when we're doing optical art, it's very important that everything be exactly straight and even and all of our lines match up. So we don't want to freehand a square on here. We want to measure one out with either a ruler or a straight edge. If you're at home and you don't have a ruler handy, you can make your own tracer using an index card. So here's my index card. I want to take this corner and fold it across the card, matching up the edges very carefully. Make sure they match before you crease it. Keep it straight. So there's where I folded it. It matches up exactly. Now I have this end piece here that's extra, so I'm going to trace it. And that's where I'm going to cut the card to make a perfect square. Cut nice and straight and even. So this part will remove. And now I have a square. Now you can see that I folded it in half. So let's trace the fold very carefully, exactly on the fold, corner to corner. And let's fold it the opposite way. So we get a nice cross in the middle, an X. Right through the center of our square, exactly corner to corner. Now let's go back to our paper. I want to trace this square onto my paper. Hold it firmly, trace around it. Make sure your lines are very straight and your corners match up exactly. Take your time on this. It's very important. Everything needs to be straight and even. So there is my square. Now I want to trace from corner to corner and make an X on the inside of my drawing, just like I have on my tracer here. So if I don't have a ruler, you can use another index card and line it up carefully on the corners and trace your line. Always measure it a couple times to make sure it's right before you trace it. Let's do the other side. Perfect. Now we have an X inside of the square. It is equal on all sides and it's perfectly straight. Now I want to draw a smaller square inside of this large square we just made. So how can I do that once again without a ruler and without freehanding? If I free draw, my lines won't be straight, no matter how hard you try. So what we're going to do is take our original tracer that we made. I want you to fold it in half and cut on that fold. Now fold it in half again. Crease it and cut on that fold. Remove the excess. Now you should have a small square, and you can fold it in half on the diagonal. Make sure the edges match up. There's our new smaller square. I'm going to use a straight edge to trace my fold lines, just to make them a little easier for me to see. Do it on both sides. Okay. Now I'm going to take this little square and put it on top of my original drawing. Now that I have the little fold lines, see here, the lines, make sure they match up with the original. All four corners should match. And then, once you're sure, trace it very carefully. And now I have a square inside of a square, and everything is exactly the same size, and the lines are perfectly straight. Now let's shade our square design using the value scale. So I want you to start in the center of the square here. And I want you to choose one of the triangles. Let's start with this one here. This one's going to be darkest. So I want you to work on shading it in. Dark. Stay exactly in the lines. Keep everything smooth and even. You're applying good, firm pressure. I like to outline the space first, just to make sure that my edges stay nice and straight, and then fill it in as dark as I can. Any little spots you might have missed, go back over it. This is your time to make it really perfect, because it will pay off later. So there's my first section, is the darkest. Now the next section to the right, I'm going to have be my medium tone on the value scale. So I'm holding my pencil a little further back. I'm shading in carefully. All the way around the perimeter of that piece. And then in a circular motion, I am filling in the rest of the space. Not quite as dark as the first one, a little bit lighter. So I went from dark to medium. Now let's go very light on this section. I'm holding my pencil even further back. Pretty much just the weight of the pencil on the paper. I'm not really pressing at all. If you need to turn your paper, makes it easier for you, go ahead and do that. Nice and light. It should be evenly colored all the way across. Very light. So dark, medium, light. You can even take your finger, I like to take my ring finger, and you can shade it a little if you like, by blending your finger across the top. Just makes it a little bit more smooth and even. Now for the last one, I have a little bit of pencil on my finger. I'm just going to use it to give a little bit of a smudge to this section. This one I want to be almost white. Anywhere you need to go back and fill in, go ahead and do that. So I have dark, medium, light, and very light. Now, if this one is very, very light, I want you to go across from it to this section, and it is going to stay very, very, very light. So you can blend your finger on that one a little bit too. Barely put any color, blend it a little. Now, this one, where the medium is, I'm going to come across from it, and it's going to be very, very dark. Go in your section all the way around. Remember, this one is the one you press the firmest. Try not to get your hand where you've already shaded. All the way around the perimeter. Fill in that space. Nice and smooth and firm. Color should be even. I'm making sure to keep my hand out of the areas where I've already shaded. Sometimes it's helpful to put another piece of paper down. That way your hand can sit on the paper instead of on your artwork. But this is a fairly small design, so I can keep my hand off to the side. Now, if you have any spaces where you've got out of the line, even just a little bit, go ahead and touch it up with an eraser. So here I have dark with very dark off to the side. Now I'm going to go where my light is. I have dark, medium, light. Where my light is, come across from it, and it's going to be light. All the way around. Make sure you're using the same pressure from one side to the next. So this is my light triangle, and across from it I also did a light triangle, or I did a light section. I'm going to blend it with my finger. So these two match. These two match. Now, these two are offset, so these two, the medium, is going to be offset with the medium over here. This is going to help play a trick on our eye and make us feel like the shape is three-dimensional. Make sure your dark areas are dark enough. Touch up any spaces that still need a little bit of work. Shading using the grayscale gradation makes the center of this square look like it is dented inward. The value shading creates an optical illusion that fools your eye. Thank you for joining me for Art Fun with Mrs. Lombardo. Remember to do a little bit of art every day and share what you've learned with someone you love.